Father God, we pray.
天父，我们祷告。
We pray and we repent.
他是马正远，大家都称他Jaeson Ma，一个年仅29岁的年轻牧师、饶舌歌手，在亚洲地区造成风潮，并带领了成千上万的青年人信主。
Son, gate of hell,
一直的诠释，在媒体上面的诠释，奉耶稣的名，
open,
打开，
open,
打开，
open.
打开。
出生自破碎家庭，青少年时期开始逃家，为寻求同侪认同，进入帮派、吸毒、打架。但却因着一场偷窃意外，扭转了他的江湖路，从此人生有了180度的奇妙转变。
今天来到真情部落格的这位来宾，他也是远从美国而来。你看到他，你一定不敢相信，因为他这么年轻，他是个牧师，而且他也是一个歌手。我们要欢迎 Jaeson。Hi Jaeson. You were born in Southern California.Right?
No, actually, I was born in Lubbock, Texas, and then recently, about 5 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles.
Oh,
yeah.
But I heard once when your mom had you, and she considered abortion.
Yes.
And why?
Well, you know, when my parents were immigrants from Hong Kong, and my father was sponsored by a local church, a Church of Christ, to be a minister, and so he came.to Lubbock, Texas, this little town in Texas, and they lived there for many years. And then things got hard for my parents, and so they didn't get along. And my father and mother separated. And but during their separation, my mom found out that she was pregnant with me. And
was it so difficult for her?
The difficult part was she's a single mother. She has 2 of my older sisters to take care of. Wow. She can't speak English. She has no job. She's thinking in her head, I can't afford this child. And so I think she called my father, wherever he was, and he said, it's an accident. And my mom said, well, if I can't get help raising this kid, it must be an accident. So she went to the hospital, and she was 5 minutes away from making the decision to abort me. And as she was laying on the hospital bed, a worker in the hospital who's a Christian from my mother's church walks by, and sees my mom, and is shocked to see her there, and just says, you know, gives her a blessing. Congratulations, you know, it's a boy, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, or he said on the sonogram, you know, inside of you is a boy. And then when she said that, I think he said, you know, God bless you, and he walked out. And so at that moment, she decided, this must be from God, so I'm not gonna abort the child. So she left the hospital clinic. And she didn't go through with it. And then she told me when I was 22 years old, I almost aborted you. She said, but God stopped me. And she said, I knew you were in an accident, that you were destined by God.
So you didn't know whether there's a meal on the table next week at that time?
Sometimes it was that bad. Other times it wasn't. I mean, my mom, she did daycare. So she took care of little children. By herself, 5, 6 little kids, you know, really cute kids since I was in 5th grade all the way till I was 24. That's how she made a living, to pay their rent was by taking care of children. And so honestly, it was very difficult because, you know, I had 2 older sisters myself, and she had to raise us by herself.
Right. Could you bear the noise from the babies?
You know what? I used to have a baby crib in my room. So, you know, what does my mom say? She says, "Xiao." Oh man, it's that Chinese word, "fun ga gao."
Oh, 对，睡觉。
Yeah, 睡觉 fun ga gao. And so she would always tell the little kids, you know, 2 o'clock fun ga gao, ga gao ju, you know, and then they would come, and so I would never go in my room between 2 and 4 o'clock because the kid would be sleeping in my room. So I'd have to go do my homework at my friend's house. Yeah, but every room had a baby crib. And there's kids, and I knew all the Disney movies, all the sing-along songs. I watched Little Mermaid 100 times. I could recite it back to you line for line. I mean, I love kids. That's how I grew up with them. Really, really cute.
What a wonderful childhood.
Yeah, it was a great childhood.
But was it difficult? I mean, emotional difficult to see your mommy work so hard to support the family?
It's very difficult. I think that was probably the most difficult thing growing up is seeing my mom suffer. Many times she would cry. Many times I could just see how lonely she was. And just always having the burden of having to get and earn money, you know, to just raise a family and pay back debt. It was never easy. I remember one time, you know, it was Thanksgiving or something like that, and we had no food, and we opened the door, and someone just left like 4 bags of groceries in our front door, you know. And so little miracles like that would happen, but most of the time it wasn't that bad. I mean, we had food to eat, but we were always very frugal. Like, we bought, you know, very, you know, cheap things, you know, but God always gave us what we needed.
So when you're teenagers, the thing you only think is escape from the family.
Yes, pretty much. I mean, there really was no family life, you know. We weren't like a normal family that ate dinner, you know, at 6 o'clock, you know. My mom and dad were not there to go to my baseball games or, you know, my school plays or help me with my homework. My sisters kind of did, or they more scolded me to do my homework because I didn't want to do it. But there was no normal family life. And so I never grew up knowing what's family, you know, because it just never was there. Yeah.
So did you feel support from the friends that you make on the street?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, honestly, a lot of the reasons why people that have a very broken home go to gangs or go to, you know, communities on the street is because they're looking for family. You know, they're looking for support. They're looking for a group of people that will be faithful and love them and be there. And for me, that was where I found it, you know, with my friends.
Did your parents know your life in the street?
Yeah, sort of. When I got arrested, yes. I'd come home every now and then. Police would bring me home, you know, and my mom would, you know, she knew, you know, I was having another lifestyle outside of the home, and so she prayed for me. She was a very strong Christian.
You saw?
She would always tell me, "I'm praying for you." Yeah, you know, and she'd be praying.
Did you ever see, like, she cried for you or prayed for you?
Yeah, almost every day.
Oh.
I would say pray but cry. We used to get in fights every day. She used to cry almost every day. The moment I left the house, she knew that I was, you know, up to no good. And so I think that's probably what I regret most, was putting my mother through so much suffering when she was already suffering, putting her through more of that. You know?
So did you hate your father back then?
At times I did. Not all the time. Sometimes I really loved, I mean, like, my dad's a very good guy, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's very giving. He's very generous. And so, you know, my dad might not come home for 3 months, 6 months, but when he came home, you know, he's got like 10 gifts, you know, he's got Transformers, you know, and, you know, he's got a basketball.
He's
you know.
smart.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. And so he came in, he gave us a lot of gifts, give us money, food, you know, and I'm like, yeah, Dad's coming home, you know, but my mom, of course, you know, she would have issues with that, you know, and I would see them fight, and then that would break my heart. And so I think, you know, at times when I saw my father and my mother not get along, that really made me angry against my father for not being there. At other times, you know, I was very thankful for him.
You see this? This is Twitter. You know what Twitter is, right?
Yes.
You tell people what you're doing. So I say, I'm being filmed by good TV.
在美国长大的Jaeson Ma有着和一般青少年大不相同的年轻岁月。他吸毒、贩毒，并有多次因帮派械斗而险遭丧命的经历。不过，这些街头的刀光血影似乎没有让他想回头的意念。那段不断闯祸的轻狂岁月，只是为家人带来无数个伤心失望的叹息。
So we're going to talk about the street life, Jaeson. How did you start using drugs?
You know, believe it or it's mainly through friends. Mainly through friends in my high school. You know, certain friends were just doing drugs. Most of it was marijuana, you know, alcohol. Some of it was some harder drugs. And you know, after school, we would all were bored, want to go do something, and so they'd go try out drugs, and I'd go and try it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
But those were powerful drugs. So were you addicted?
You know, interestingly, I was never addicted. Never addicted. I think I did it because I wanted to be accepted. I did it because I wanted to be cool. And so all my friends were doing it, so I wanted to do it. But I never got addicted to hard drugs like methamphetamines, cocaine, any of those type of things. I've tried them, but I just never really got addicted to them. The main thing I did was just marijuana. Yeah, marijuana, weed.
I'm interested. Were you a drug dealer?
Yeah, I was.
You were?
I used to grow a marijuana plant in my backyard.
Really?
Yeah, and
So you can smell it,
oh
right?
yeah, you can smell.
Marijuana.
You know,
It's a strong smell.
it's a strong smell. But my mother, she doesn't know what it is. So you know, a funny story was my mom. She comes to the backyard one day, and this marijuana plant in a pot is growing. Right, it's like this big, and it smells. So my mom would come, and, you know, Jaeson, what's that? You know, and then I didn't know what to say. So I was like, I was trying to think, what do I tell my mom? I can't tell her it's marijuana, it's drugs. And so I told my mom, I said, it's my science project. And so my mom said, oh.
She believed.
Yeah, she believed me. So, oh, okay. She said, oh, you put over there, it's so stinky. You know, she's like, it smells so bad. So she's like, put it under the tree in the corner of the backyard. So, yeah, I mean, I did, you know, some drug dealing for some time.
So you did make money from selling drugs.
Good money, yeah.
So did you give the money, some of them, to your mom to support the family?
To be honest, no. I was very selfish as a young boy. I think I used most of my money to buy clothes, you know, to get, you know, toys, to get things that I wanted. You know, I was very materialistic at that time. And I knew that the drug money was bad money, so I didn't give it to my mom. I still had a conscience. I still feared God, you know, and so I separated, you know, what was earned and what was, you know, bad.
Yeah, but gang life is pretty dangerous. Anything serious happened to you?
There were two. One, I was in front of Great America's, as like an amusement park. And it was our gang and another gang, and then this car pulled up in front of me, and the guy pulled out a gun, and he shot at me. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I felt
The true gun? Oh.
Yeah, and I felt the bullet go right past like that. I could feel it, like a whistle, right across my ear. And I was shocked. I just stopped and then just ran.
It almost killed you.
Almost killed me. Yeah, that's the first time. Second time was when I was a sophomore in high school. We were fighting a rival gang, and this gang was about 10 years older than us. So they're in their 20s, and I was 15, 16. And so they come, about 20 of them, and about 5 of my friends. And he pulls out a machete, a knife, about this big, and he puts it up to my throat, like this. And he says, you know, he asks me if I'm from that gang, and I said yes. And I had a lock in my hand, like this. And he was about to cut me. And right when he was about to cut me, in my head, I hadn't been to church in 5 years. I knew. My life was flashing before my eyes. I was like, I'm going to die. And I remember praying. And I said, God, if you're up there, please help me. And he almost swung like this. He was like this, and he was about to swing. Then the police came. Whoop, whoop. And then the police came, and so everyone ran. So I was like this close, getting cut. And so I was running. And I thought to myself, maybe there's a God up there, you know. I forgot about it right away and went back to doing drugs and getting into fights.
Really this close?
Very close, very close.
Have you ever get caught from crying?
Yeah. Definitely. Many times. I think, I mean, my own story of how I met God was even though I was doing drugs, I was in gang fights, I was, you know, living the street life. My main problem was stealing. So I was addicted to stealing. I would steal anything. I mean, from cars to clothes to stereo equipment.
It's weird. You have money.
Right, but
You just want to.
I wanted to do it. It's in it. You know Winona Ryder's a very famous actress. She got caught stealing.
Right.
Why would a famous actress you know, steal. She has money, fame. Why would she do that? There's something about stealing. It's almost like a rush. There's a high. It's almost like a drug. Especially someone like myself who had so much passion and so much adrenaline, so much energy. Just the whole idea that I can do something and get away with it and no one catches me. It was almost like an adventure.
So what did you do?
I stole everything. I got caught twice stealing originally. And every time I got caught, for some reason, I do not know why, the police let me go. They didn't take me to jail. And every time they brought me home, my mother would say, Jaeson, stop stealing. God's giving you a second chance. Give your life back to God. And I would be like, okay, Mom. You know, out my ear. But the third time I got caught was the time that I found God. At this time, I was about 16 years old. I was working at an Italian suit store, and they sold Armani and Valentino suits, Giorgio Armani. And
so you worked there?
I worked there.
That's a very high-end
Very
store.
high-end, very high-end store. I basically, with two other co-workers, created a way to launder.
So three of you?
Three of us. It was a three-man operation. We were stealing suits for about almost a year, more than a year. And one day, my mother calls me. And she says, Jaeson, the police are on the phone, and they say that they have a hidden video camera in your store for the last 3 months, and they caught you stealing red-handed. Is this true? I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? Hang up the phone, call my friends. Hey, what's going on? They're like, some girl in the store ratted it, told on us. I was like, do they have a video camera? Do they really have us on with evidence? And they said, no, the police are just saying that to make us turn ourselves in. I said, okay. So the police call me, and I pick up the phone, and they say, hey, we have a hidden video camera in your store for the last 3 months. You're guilty, turn yourself in, or we're coming after you with a warrant. And they've already been chasing me for some time, trying to get me. And so I respond, and I say, look, I know you're bluffing. I know you're lying. I know you don't have a video camera, and you don't have a videotape. So if you want to catch me if you can. And I hang up the phone. Crazy kid. And so in my head, I hang up the phone, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go figure this out. And looking back, I have no idea to this day why at that moment I had this moment, maybe you call it an epiphany, where I just thought to myself, what am I doing with my life? You know, I'm almost gonna be an adult. I'm getting chased by cops. My mom's crying. I'm doing drugs, but I'm not happy. I have friends. I have money. I have everything I need and everything I want. I have everything, but why do I feel like I have nothing inside of my heart? So I just knew I needed to get my life right. So I went into my room. I opened up my closet. I took out every single last suit I had stolen, put them into 2 big garbage bags. And I tell my friend, take me to the police station.
Why?
I don't know. I still don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. So my friend is taking me, and he's going, yo, are you stupid? He's like trying to talk me out. He's like, what are you doing? You know, like, dog, what are you doing? And I'm like, leave me alone. I don't know. Leave me alone. So when you don't know what to do, what do? You call your mom. So I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I know this is out of the blue, but what do you think Jesus would do if he was in my situation? And my mom was quiet, and she said, Jaeson, I think Jesus would probably turn himself in to the police to get rid of his sin, his wrongdoing, so he could start his life over and get his life right with God. And the moment she said that, I knew that was what was wrong, what was going on, and what I needed to do. So right then I said, Mom, I know what's wrong. I said, I've sinned against God. I've hurt you. I've hurt myself and other people. I said, I need to get my life right with God. And I got to turn myself in and do what's right, even if I go to jail. God took me to heaven and he brought me back down and I have to tell you what I saw. And she says, you're going to be a youth pastor. And Jaeson, you're going to touch thousands of kids all around the world, just like you.
一个想法的改变，全然翻转了Jaeson Ma的生命。他开始追求从上帝而来的爱与希望，把过去的失败经验转化成见证和强而有力的讲道，安抚了许多人的心灵。
他是从那么年轻的一个时候就去信主，就去传道。我觉得这是一个非常很特别的一个故事。然后他的见证就是真的，一听到之后就真的打动我的心。
第一次我妈期结束之后，我回去美国，她有说一句话，我觉得蛮不错，是说 "There's nothing that you can do to make God love you more. There's nothing that you can do wrong to make God love you less." 就是她讲之后，我觉得哇，就是神的爱，就是 perfect， 就是永恒的爱。
So Jaeson, did you receive the court order?
Yeah, I mean,
After 6 months?
during those 6 months, everything changed. I quit drugs, gangs, parties. I got my life together.
Gosh, you totally changed.
Upside down, 180-degree turnaround. Me and my mom became best friends. We used to fight every day. I'm like washing dishes for her now. I'm going to church. During those 6 months, I led about 100 of my friends from gangs, drugs, and the streets to church, and they found Jesus. And so 6 months after this change, I get a letter in the mail. Court order. You got to go to court.
Oh, were you scared?
Interesting letter. No.
No?
I remember when I got it, I was kind of like, oh man, I guess the miracle's not a miracle anymore. And I was like, what? But I remember saying to God, I said, God, I deserve this. I did wrong. And I need to face the consequence of my actions, my sin. So I said, God, I'm a free man. Whether I'm in jail or not in jail, I'm a free man. So if I go to jail, you must have a purpose. I'm going to go preach the gospel and tell people about Jesus in jail. So I was getting ready for my jail ministry. So I'm like, I'm ready to go to jail. Got my tie on, walk in, go to the judge. I confess to all the crimes. And he looks at me and says, Jaeson, this is a very interesting case. We know that you've confessed to all the crimes, but we want to investigate it more, so come back in 1 month. Okay, I come back in a month. Jaeson, this is a very unique case. We're going to get 2 more lawyers to investigate it more in depth. Come back in another month. You got to be kidding me. He's like, just go. Okay.
What's happening over there?
I have no idea what's going on. I have no lawyer. I don't know what's happening. I come back a 3rd time. This is 1998, the spring of 1998. And I have no idea what's going to happen. The judge looks at me and he says, Jaeson, we made a decision. You can go free.
What?
Exactly.
Just like that?
Just like that. And I've been to court. I've been arrested. I have a record. So I'm from the streets. So I'm like...
Did you ask why?
Exactly. In the court. I asked him, I said, what do you mean I can go free? He said, you can go. I was like, I don't have to go to jail. He said, no. I was like, do I have to pay the company back money? He said, you don't have to pay the company back money. We had stolen so much money from that store that when they found out everything that happened, I mean, I am not proud of this at all. They had to shut down that branch. It was that bad. Yet, I did not have to pay them back a dime. So I said, look, I've been arrested before. So I'm like trying to arrest myself now with the judge, right? I'm like, give me something to do. I'm like, do I have community service hours? He said, no community service hours. I was like, what about my probation officer? Said, when you walk out this courtroom, Jaeson, she'll no longer be your probation officer. So I can leave like nothing happened. Yes, you can go.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
And I walked out a free man.
Wow. It sounds like a fairy tale.
To me, it's a real miracle. You know, I was a convicted felon going in, and I walked out a completely free, innocent man. And at that moment, I understood the gospel message, the good news. You know, people talk about Jesus all the time. Jesus died for your sins. He rose from the grave. He loves you. He has a plan for your life. You grow up with that, but it just becomes language to you. It becomes words. But at that moment, it was a perfect picture of grace.
Right.
I always tell people that justice is getting what you deserve. Mercy is getting what you don't deserve.
Right.
But grace is getting what you definitely don't deserve. And I definitely did not deserve to walk out of that courtroom a free man. And I realized I'm a sinner. I should go to hell. I should be separated from God. But Jesus died so that my sins could be forgiven, so that I could have an everlasting life with my Father in heaven. And so when I walked out that courtroom, I was like the happiest kid on the planet, you know.
However, your family must have suffered from your gang life.
Oh, yeah.
Have you, did you ever apologize to any one of them?
Oh, all the time. I still do. We bring it up, you know, or I'm talking to my sisters, like, yeah, man, yeah, I'm sorry.
Does your sister have a gift of prophecy?
Yes. Yeah, my oldest sister.
Did you first believe what it had said to you?
No way. I thought she was on drugs.
Did she always talk about things happen, ahead?
When I was 15 years old, I was high on drugs one night. And I was laying on the couch like this, literally laying on the couch. And I'm like on drugs. And I'm like coming off of this high. My oldest sister runs through the house, breaks open the door, midnight, wakes me up. Jaeson, wake up. I'm like, whoa, what do you want? Leave me alone. She's like, Jaeson, you will not believe what happened tonight. I said, what? She goes, God took me to heaven. I was in a prayer meeting, and God took me to heaven, and he showed me your book of life. It was huge. And I looked at it.
Your book of life?
My book of life, like my written, destined book of life in heaven. And she's like, God took me to heaven, and he brought me back down, and I have to tell you what I saw. And I said, well, what did you see? I said, was I rich? Was I famous? Did I win an Academy Award? And she says, no. You're going to be a youth pastor. And Jaeson, you're going to touch thousands of kids all around the world, just like you. And I looked at her, literally, and I was like, I started cussing at her. I was like, heck no, I'm not going to be no youth pastor.
Unbelievable.
I was like, are you, me, a youth? Why would I want to be a youth pastor? I was like, I don't even believe in God. Like, why would I want to be a youth pastor? Like, bleep, you know, I'm going off of her. He was like, Jaeson, I'm not joking, really. I saw you. There's hundreds and then thousands of young people everywhere, and they were getting touched by God. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And my mom was washing dishes in the kitchen, and she could hear everything. You know, so my mom's like, oh, yeah, Jaeson gonna be a youth pastor. Jaeson gonna be a youth pastor. You know, I'm like, Mom, no, I'm not gonna be a youth pastor. And then I remember asking her, I said, well, I said, did you see anything else? She said, well, actually, yes, I did. It's kind of weird, but you're also going to be a rapper. She goes, I don't even like rap music. I don't even listen to it. But yeah, you're going to be a rapper. But I thought that was for black people. At that time, I don't know if I was really seeking to do rap music. But she was like, your music's going to touch people around the world. And so I was like, all right, that's cool. That's a little better. And then, but then again, I didn't think about it. I was 15. So 2 years later, I encountered God. And when I was 17, I started my first Bible study, 6 months after being a Christian.
Wow.
And that Bible study grew to hundreds of young people who had never been to church, all around San Jose, where I grew up. A lot of my friends were in drugs, gangs, streets, parties. People in my plays, you know, that I did at school with, many of them started coming to these Bible studies. I started holding different ones. And it just grew. And within 1 year, I was like a youth pastor.
Wow.
And so I saw my sister's prophecy come to pass. And actually, my senior year in high school, I made my first rap tape.
走遍世界各地 ，Jaeson Ma 不断灌输守贞的观念。他以身作则，从自己开始，也带领许多的年轻人愿意起身效法。而吴建豪就是让人最津津乐道的一位。
他说他那时候20岁的时候就答应上帝7年不跟女生有任何交往。他一讲7年的时候，我吓一跳，说他7年啊。他说没关系，你不用说7年，你说3个月或者6个月先试试看。我觉得应该做得到吧。然后那后来那时候才我的见证出来的时候，我才真的很明确听到上帝跟我讲的时候，我就说 OK 好，1年我就试试看1年。那真的就是那1年，整个这样子下来，让我傻眼了。
因着Jaeson Ma的影响，守贞不再是被同儕取笑的画饼，而是让人引以为傲的象征。
And Jaeson, what made you make the decision for committing yourself 7 years in traveling to go preach the gospel?
When I was 21, I made a commitment to God to be single for 7 years.
Why?
Because my girlfriend broke up with me. Yeah. I mean, that was 50% of the reason. There was a young girl that I was dating at church, and I really, really liked her, and I thought I was going to marry her. My heart was very, very torn, and I was very, very depressed. It was the first time I ever felt, your heartbreak, your first love. And so I remember I was depressed for like a year. I'd cry every day because I loved her so much. And then asking God why. And I remember him saying, would you give up the best years of your life to love me and serve me? Now, I didn't know what that meant, but I wrestled with it. I remember God saying to me, Jaeson, do you believe that I can satisfy you more than anyone else? Mother, father, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, anyone. And I said, God, I want to believe that you can. And so as I was there talking with God, I turned to the story of Jacob and Rachel, and how Jacob in the Bible waited 7 years to marry the love of his life, Rachel. Of course, he ended up waiting 14 years because he had to end up marrying his older sister first. But that number, 7 years, just came into my heart. And for some reason, I just felt, I don't know, but I just sensed that God was saying, would you give up 7 years? And at that point, I was like, all right, God, I surrender.
But purity, I mean, was it a very difficult commitment to follow?
Yes, definitely. It was very, very difficult because as a young man, you do burn with lust biologically.
Right.
Okay? You have sexual desires and needs, And so from a very young age, I had struggled with pornography. I struggled with masturbation. And even traveling many times, I would get very weak and lonely at times when I come back preaching. I was just exhausted. And I would be jet lagged, and I'd be on the internet, and then you get a random email in your junk mail, and then it turns out to be, pornography or something lewd or lustful. And times I had fallen, okay? As a pastor, I had fallen. So I've made this known, that I did not struggle. I'm a human being. I'm not like this holy pastor that's perfect and I don't have any sexual desires because God gave me a gift. No, I love women. I love God. I love women. I want to be married. I want to have children. I believe that sex will be great one day, in the right context. But I did struggle with it, and so through the years, through other pastors holding me accountable and other brothers and sisters holding me accountable and getting ministry in that area, I was able to overcome pornography and able to overcome that temptation, and really going to God and really letting God and His presence satisfy me. Okay, but it wasn't an easy road. It was a struggle.
But you have been teaching young people to keep purity.
Absolutely.
Right? Do they find you old-fashioned?
No.
No?
Abstinence is the new cool. Purity is the new cool. Yeah. I mean,
how did you teach them?
Example. best way to lead is by example. I can't tell the young people to do something that I don't do.
Right.
You know? And so when they see me, I'm almost 30 years old. I'm 29. I'm still a virgin. Okay? I remember the first time I was in Hong Kong, and it was a outreach for celebrities and artists, and there were about 200 artists and entertainers there. And I was like, I'm a virgin and I'm proud of it. And everyone just started laughing, right? Like, oh my God, he's a virgin? No way. No. And but I was like, you know what? I'm proud of it because to me, purity is not something, or sexual temptation, abstinence is not something I'm just trying to control or just trying to resist. It's a battle. It's a war. It's a fight to be won. So really, when you look at purity, you don't look at it as, oh, I'm missing out on something, okay? Rather, I'm fighting for something, okay? I'm fighting to give my future wife, my future family, my children the very best. To give them my whole heart. To let them know that I saved myself for their mother. And I love her that much that I would not give myself to anyone else but her.
Wow, how
for
romantic.
Her and for their children.
Oh, it's very romantic.
Well, I think God's romantic.
And I know this commitment affects Vanessa very much. Right.
Absolutely. Well, he
talked about the same thing.
He is now, I believe he's been abstinent for almost 2 years now. And I always tell people, I believe in what I call born again virgins. Okay? So a lot of people, young people come to me like, hey, I already fell into sexual immorality. I had sex. It's too late for me. I go, it's never too late. It's never too late. As long as right now you ask for God's forgiveness and you make a commitment to be pure and to save yourself for the one that God has planned for you, then you are washed clean and you are made new, a born-again virgin. And we've heard stories, unbelievable stories, miracle stories of women, young women that received their virginity again, okay? Literally, when they get married, they're, physically, they're virgins, even though they had sex beforehand. And so I believe that God can do miracles like that, and he can restore your purity. But with Vanessa, he's a very special story. I mean, so many young people right now are following after him.
Right.
And that's why I believe that people like him, pop stars, cultural icons, celebrities, need to recognize that what they do influences others.
Absolutely.
Whether they like it or not, they are role models, either good or bad. And the actions they make, decisions they make, and choices they choose will affect thousands, if not millions, who will follow after the example. And most young people today will not follow what a pastor says, will not follow what their parents say, but they'll follow what Vanessa Wu says. And now, because of his testimony and that t-shirt that he's wearing, thousands in Taiwan and Asia of young people are wearing that same t-shirt, that God is better than sex, that God can satisfy me more than a human being, okay? And they're committed to abstinence and purity. It's beautiful. It's powerful. He says, why don't you play that musical beat on your computer, find one of your sermons, and play it over the music at the same time, and let's see what happens. So I found a sermon on YouTube, played the song, pressed play on YouTube on the sermon, play on my music, and when the two landed, it was like heaven touched earth.
把步道融入音乐中是 Jaeson Ma 极大的突破，想法大胆创新，成为风潮。Jaeson Ma 一直想成为饶舌歌手， 上帝奇妙地把牧师和歌手的身份合而为一，让 Jaeson 一圆梦想。
Jaeson, you are an amazing man of God. You've touched so many lives, and mine included. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what God's going to do. Yeah, you're awesome, so be blessed.
Thank you, Jaeson, for loving me as a brother, as a friend. I respect and honor you so much, and we've been able to do so much, by God's grace. And I don't know, I can keep going on forever, but I'm just going to stop there and say, I love you. Whatever you need, I got you.
Jaeson, let's talk about your music. How did you start your music career?
After I became a Christian, I met a very famous rapper who became my mentor and my pastor. His name is MC Hammer. And
Too legit,
yes.
Too legit to quit.
Yeah, can you do it? Too legit to quit. You know that? Too legit. Come on, Amber. Too legit to quit. You got it. I can't touch this. And so the baggy pants, MC Hammer, worldwide, people know who he is. And at that time, he asked me, he really liked me, to come and intern for him. I basically worked with him for 5 years, doing all of his business. And at that same time, he mentored me in not just business, but just life, my spirituality, music, film, all these different things. And so during that time, I really had a passion to get into music, but God said it wasn't time.
Wow.
So I don't want you to go to Hollywood right now. I want you to go to Bible college. And I was like, Bible college? Ugh. Like, why would I want to go to Bible college, It's boring. I was like, I want to go to Hollywood and be a missionary. And God just tells me that. So I was struggling with it. I was like, God, but when I was 15, you prophesied that I'd be a rapper.
Right.
Why are you telling me to go to Bible college?
For preparation.
So I asked MC Hammer one night. I still remember it was like 3 a.m. in the morning at a studio. And I said, Pastor, I call him Pastor. I said, what do you think I should do? And I said, should I go to Hollywood and go now and be missionary, or should I go to Bible college? And he says, Jaeson, this is what I would tell you. Hollywood will always be there. But you should go to Bible college first and lay a strong spiritual foundation. He says, because if you go to Hollywood in your spiritual condition right now, the demons in Hollywood will eat you up and spit you out their mouth.
Oh, terrible.
Right? He said, go to Bible college, lay a strong spiritual foundation. When you go back to Hollywood and God sends you into Hollywood, you'll be strong enough to resist the temptation, and you'll actually have something to offer it.
So how did you really get into the show business? And what's the album about?
After I had preached for 7 years, okay, to thousands of young people and planted hundreds of churches, I always wanted to go back and make music. So all the time, even though God told me not to, I tried to cheat and make a song. And every time I made a song, it didn't work. It was horrible. All right? So finally, after wrestling with God, why did you tell me to make music, but you're telling me to give it up? Why are you telling me to make music, but why are you telling me to give it up? Finally, when I was about 26, I laid it on the altar, and I said, God, this time, I'm leaving Isaac on the altar. I'm leaving my musical career on the altar, and I'm not going to touch it. I surrender to you. I said, God, if the prophecy never comes true, and I never make music again, I promise you, I'll still love you, and I'll preach the gospel to the day I die. 2 weeks later, I'm at a retreat center, and I get 5 dreams in a row. 5 nights, 5 different dreams of a different rap star wanting to sign me as a rapper. So Will Smith, P. Diddy, Dr. Dre,
Cool.
Eminem, MC Hammer, different people. And every night I'm getting this dream, and I'm like, why am I getting these dreams? And I asked my spiritual counselor, what do you think this means? And he says, well, Jaeson, I think God's telling you it's okay to go back into music. You've passed the test. And so I called my friend. I was like, hey, man, I think we need to really get serious about our music. So we make an album, 10 songs, in about 5 weeks. that album gets into the hands of a guy named Carl Choi, who is a manager for the most famous hip-hop acts that are Asian American in the world. He gives my CD to one of the very famous producers. He listens to it and he goes, "This is good, but I feel like rap music constricts Jaeson from what he's really good at, which is preaching." So when they come back to me and said, "Jaeson, have you ever thought about preaching over music?"
Wow, that's new.
Exactly. I said, "Well, yeah, but I don't know how you can make that a song, or how people would listen to it." And the person was just a brand new Christian. He said, "Do you have any of your sermons on YouTube?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a bunch of my sermons on YouTube." He says, "Why don't you play that musical beat on your computer, find one of your sermons, and play it over the music at the same time, and let's see what happens." So I found a sermon on YouTube, played the song, pressed play on YouTube on the sermon, play on my music, and when the two landed,
wow,
it was like heaven touched earth. My sermon landed perfectly over the musical beat.
Wow.
And my friend, the producer, he's a brand new Christian, right? He started cursing. He's like, "Holy!" He was like, "Can you see that my hair's standing up?" And he was like, "This is revolutionary." He said, "This is crazy." He goes, "I get it. I can see it now." He said, "Jaeson, this works." He goes, "Can you just preach over music about anything right now?" I was like, "Of course. I could preach with my eyes closed. I've been preaching for 10 years." He goes, "Well, preach about something." I was like, "What do you want me to preach about?" He's like, "Preach about love." I was like, "Okay, like right now?" He's like, "Yeah." And out of my mouth, I said, "Now Hollywood wants to make you think they know what love is, but I'm going to tell you what true love is. Love is not what you see in the movies. It's not the ecstasy. It's not what you see in that scene. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now, true love is sacrifice." Right when I said that line, out of my spirit, he was just shocked. We went into the studio the next night, and I recorded my first single, Love, that's out right now on YouTube. That whole entire song was a freestyle from my spirit. I didn't write down the lyrics.
Wow.
I just prayed, went into the booth, and then I just spoke whatever came out of my spirit onto the song. And somehow it landed into the measurements of the beat. And so that's how the music came about. And so I just preach over music now.
What did you think God would do through your music?
Whatever he wants. For me, I think a lot of young people, they're not going to go to church and listen to a sermon, but they'll listen to a song.
In the end, walking through your journey of life, can you have a short sharing to the audience?
For me, it's not so much about what I accomplish or what I do, who I know or what I have at the end of my life. But hopefully at the end of my life, people will say, he truly loved. He loved God. He loved himself. He loved others. He loved his wife, hopefully, his children. He loved the least, the last, the lost. And hopefully at the end of my life, I had learned to love. I think I still have a lot to learn about love, and a lot that I don't know, and many mistakes that I'm still making along the way. But hopefully each mistake will give me a lesson to grow closer to that infinite, unconditional love of God.
其实 Jaeson Ma 他在LA 算是一个传奇人物了。您刚听到他的生命故事，真的比电影更精彩，但是又却非常非常的真实。我想他说，守贞是尊重爱情的表现哦。如果说一个男人真的会为了保护一个女人而愿意牺牲自己的欲望的话，那是一个多么浪漫的事情呢？不知道你认为如何？我们也希望这位传奇人物继续能够写下他传奇的故事。Jaeson, thank you for coming.
Thank you very
much. Thank you. God bless you.
Oh, blessings to you.
谢谢。
All right, give me a high five.
谢谢。
各位好，我是你们的老朋友孙越。马正远这位传道人他自己所说的这个见证，我在想，不要说他16岁自己感受到了自己满身是罪恶，有的人 26岁、36岁、45、66岁，很大很大年纪了，仍然有这种感觉，可是不知道该怎么办。但是马正远他知道，他借着祷告，让上帝饶恕他。圣经上有一句话：若有人在基督里，他就是新造的人。新造的人，旧事已过，都变成新的。不看自己过去多少污秽，是看眼前我们因为蒙恩得救，我们的生命改变。亲爱的朋友，在这个时候我想到在电视机前面的你的家庭，要不要在现在我们一起低头，我们共同做一个祷告。亲爱的主耶稣，我们谢谢你，这位爱音乐的传道人马正远，他个人的见证也让我看到了，有很多的人自己充满了罪恶，但是自己不晓得该怎么办，到处拜偶像，希望自己不在，可是做不到，仍然会犯罪，仍然会犯错。主，在这个时候我也特别为电视机前面的朋友祷告。我知道有一些人，生活一些家庭仍然在罪恶之中，主，我恭敬地为他们祷告。主，求你的怜悯，他们能够感受，让他们愿意把自己的心打开了，接受主，你成为他们的救主，成为他们家庭的主，改变了他，改变了他的家人。主，我们都是罪人，但是主，因为你为我们钉死在十字架，我们的罪得到赦免。主，我们求你帮助电视机前面这些有困难的家庭，有困难的人，恭敬地为他们祷告，奉主耶稣基督的名，阿们。亲爱的朋友，记住了，人的尽头就是神的开始。祷告吧。